Well, we're halfway through the year, and that means we're also halfway through revisiting every Star Wars movie in reverse Hisui order.
And this month, next on the docket, we've got Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones.
How Star Wars is it?
Oh, well, hello there, Mike.
Hi, Josiah.
And hello to our dear listeners and his sweeties. And welcome back to the show.
Yeah, welcome back.
Welcome back. Thank you for coming back week after week.
Yes.
Month after month.
And this is the show. It's How Star Wars Is It? And it's the only podcast wherein we review absolutely anything and everything on a scale of 1 to 10 of how Star Wars that thing is.
That's right. I had the distinct pleasure this weekend of hanging out with one of Charlie's good friends. And I made Charlie, once her friend found out about my podcast, because I had to edit it over the weekend, I made Charlie pitch the show to her. So it was very nice to hear her sort of do the...
Because is she a big network executive?
Yeah, she loves it. She's really good at log lines, so it was great. And I made her... she did the whole... she did the chili bit.
Great.
She did the not how good or bad it is, how Star Wars it is. So it's good to know that we have some staying power in the hearts and minds of at least
of the people closest to us. Yeah.
But yeah, we rate everything on a scale of 1 to 10 of how Star Wars it is. The only thing that's gotten a 10 out of 10 is Return of the Jedi. So
yeah, and Star Wars movies in general tend to fare fairly well. And this week we're going to put that to the test again. We are revisiting another Star Wars movie, middle of the prequels, Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. Largely, at least somewhat largely considered to be the worst of the prequels, perhaps.
Yes, absolutely. You know what's interesting? So this is something we've been doing the last couple episodes that we've done this. It's because we've realized that we were like, wow, we don't have that much more to say about these movies.
Right.
And we've also been recording the
commentary tracks for 2 and change hours that you can listen to yourself, listeners, over at our Patreon. If you're hearing this today, the day it released, then that will probably come out a week from Wednesday.
Yeah. Go check it out. It's really fun. I think the commentary for Attack of the Clones is very fun. Yeah. I hadn't seen the movie in 5 years. So it was exciting to see it again with fresh eyes.
Yeah.
But something we've been doing I have our little list here pulled up.
That's a great idea. We can maybe run through that early so that we can kind of set our sights. So
we are halfway through the our revisit of all these flicks. Okay, so we gave Last Jedi an 8.5, 8.5.
Yes, that's right. And Josiah beat me to finding that, but I pulled up the Spotify and remembered that when you play our podcast on Spotify, the playhead is a lightsaber, and that is just so cool. And we had nothing to do with that. It just does that, I guess.
Yeah, we didn't bribe Spotify to do that. They just did it. But yeah, so we're like halfway through revisiting these.
Right. This is like the peak of the mountain. We're literally on the middle.
The 6 out of the 11 flicks. So let's run through. So Return of the Jedi, still a 10 out of 10. Phantom Menace, a 9.25. New Hope, a 9. Empire, 8.75. The Last Jedi, 8.5. So we're getting really granular here.
Right. So if we're doing this sort of quarter point thing, the highest this could get, if it stays in the same position as we initially ranked it, would be an 8.25. Or an 8 flat. What did you say? No, yeah, 8.25.
Last Jedi was an 8.5.
Yeah, okay.
So if we are sticking with our quarter measurement, yes, Attack of the Clones would be 8.25. So like when we initially rated everything, Attack of the Clones, Last Jedi, and New Hope all got an 8 for various reasons, right? So that's what we're here to relitigate today, is deciding where it belongs in this sort of 8 area.
So Last Jedi, A New Hope, and Attack of the Clones.
Yes, those all had an 8.
Okay.
Which, funnily enough, we moved New Hope up to a 9, Empire got bumped down a little bit to an 8.75.
Oh, okay.
And then Last Jedi is right there around in that 8.5 area. So we are here today to figure out what Attack of the Clones is. Those are a lot of numbers that don't mean anything.
Just gut reactions based on those numbers. Does Attack of the Clones, without investigating it all that much, does it feel less Star Wars than The Last Jedi to you? I don't know how to answer that.
I don't know how to answer it either, because in a lot of ways it feels much more Star Wars.
Sure.
You know? Because the reason that Last Jedi ends up high is because it is representative of like the good filmmaking side of Star Wars, right? And it has a lot of the rhyming moments. But Attack of the Clones is just so batshit, you know?
Attack of the Clones really like sort of colored the prequels. Like a lot of people were mixed on Phantom Menace when it first came out, and people hated Jar Jar and stuff like that. But once like the prequels as an era was sort of in amber, people were able to point at it and say it was bad. And I would say they are responding to largely the like the bad dialogue and the bad performances.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Like not necessarily the bad story, because I don't know if I think the story overall is bad of the whole prequel era. I don't think it's great, but
I hate to break it to you, but it is bad. No, when we were listening to, I mean, not listening, we were watching it and giving the commentary, I think there was a sort of us remembering, especially me remembering, like what even this second movie is about, like what happens in it.
Right.
And it's sort of these inexplicable storylines. There's like sort of three different things that are like being tied together. Okay, yes, story, not bad. Plot, not great.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Those
like
are two very different things for sure.
Yes. The sort of like literal let's get to the story, like what is the story?
The like events that take place.
Yes. You said something in the commentary that I think tracks, especially for the prequels. It's like George Lucas is just telling you a story.
Yeah.
Where he's like, okay, so this one thing happened.
Like
and
he
then this
managed
thing
to
happened.
like watch all the events unfold and then like told a typewriter everything that happened and then turned that into a script.
Yeah, he fed an AI a bunch of Star Wars movies and then he had it pump out.
And he was today years old.
He was today years old. We found out that WAP stands for... Wait, no, that actually does stand for something. No, so like, this is hard because... do we have anything new to say about Attack of the Clones, the film itself?
I feel like I've said this now on multiple episodes lately, but I guess I'll say it again. Of all the prequels, Attack of the Clones to me is weirdly like the most rewatchable because it has sort of the most weird shit that I like. You know, I love backgroundy crap. Like, I love Greedo. I love all the guys in the cantina. So, therefore, I love Attack of the Clones because there's so much business going on in that movie. There's all the bad guys. There's Wat Tambor and Poggle the Lesser and the Banking Clan.
Yes, there's so many weird little, like, blink and you miss it world-building
like,
things.
There's the Ahmed Best and Anthony Daniels cameos in the weird bar. There's the changeling Zam Wessel. There's Dex, of course. There's Watto's hat.
Yes.
I do love all the like goofy shit, and I also love the like again like more world stuff. Like we get Camino, and we get a bit more of Coruscant. We see Dex. You know,
we get to see a new, different part of Naboo. You know, it's like we have a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of cool world stuff. And you know. If the plot was better, or like better constructed, better executed, then the world building stuff would be. Then I think this movie would be like maybe the like best Star Wars movie as far as world building goes, because they literally just. I mean, something that I think George Lucas does well in the prequels, and this might be. Let me see if I can figure out how to say this. It's not a show don't tell thing because he is sort of telling you the plot of like the story, but he is doing a very fun, interesting job of just showing you all the little corners of this universe and like a bunch of little corners, not necessarily locations, but like the aliens, the banking clan, like you said, like a bunch of different things that are introduced in this movie and then like
just, like,
never talked about again in any of the movies.
Details of like how cloning works. Like the details are a little scarce, but they give you just enough that you can really fill in a lot of the blanks. They needed this guy to stick around more because they probably had to take hair and other DNA from him like fairly frequently, because otherwise you're doing the multiplicity thing and you're making a copy of a copy.
Right.
But most of that is like, they say the one line of like, oh yeah, we keep him here, and then I am allowed to be like, oh, so that they can avoid multiplicity situations.
Yeah,
like he does a thing that I would say my boss does, which is claim that all you really have to do is have a big idea and then someone else will do the actual detail work for you. And in his case, that's kind of true because he has ILM.
Yeah, it's
he
true.
can be like,
oh
yeah, they're really tall, wispy. They're like deflated balloon aliens. They're really tall and stretchy, and they make clones. They have to keep the bounty hunter Django Fett. They have to keep him there.
Yeah,
he
and
had
then
one
ILM's
maid
like, got it.
That's his kid, and he's gonna be the guy who everyone loves.
Yeah, they're gonna love that guy.
And they're just like, okay, we'll build a bunch of 3D models.
Yeah, we'll just animate this whole movie for you. Oh yeah, that's what I was gonna say. A joke that you make sometimes is like seeing the like little robot put in the new window after like the one that Anakin jumps out of.
Obi-Wan
jumps out of after Padme is, her life is there's assassination attempt.
Yeah.
And like that is such a goofy detail, right? And we've talked before about how George Lucas loves to answer questions we weren't asking. But that is also what good world building is.
Right.
Like it's just because the sort of plot and dialogue and acting of this movie like fall flat, because that happens, the world building is easy to make fun of. Whereas if the rest of that was good, it would be like, oh, what a cool little detail, right? Like, oh, we see all these cool little details of random things in the background, or like blink and you miss it characters, or like, oh, the Geonosians and the banking clan and the robot guy, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
It's like all that cool stuff where
Techno-Union.
Tune into the commentary to hear us make some great jokes about him.
We also made some like revelations in that commentary. We were talking about like how to like prune scenes or like make them mean something, because that is another thing this movie does a lot. And I would argue that most of Star Wars doesn't have this problem, which is entire 5-minute long sequences ultimately being flashy show and not developing anything.
Yeah.
Even like other chase sequences, like Han Solo and the gang going through the asteroid field in Empire. Like that shows us Darth Vader working with his team, and that they're all, it's hard to get good help these days, and it shows Han and Leia like falling in love. And
yes, exactly.
Like in this movie, there's like multiple sequences that it's just like the thing we learned from that chase sequence on Coruscant is like, okay, Anakin is good at driving and jumping, I guess.
Yeah. And even like, yes, there are multiple sequences that go on too long and that don't, because that was something we talked about in the commentary, and we can talk about it a little bit here, is that like it's like sort of inefficient writing in a way, because it's like doing something fun. It should be fun, that goes on too long, and then like after that in a different scene they'll tack on some character development, and it's like, well, why didn't you just put the character development in the scene where they were doing
watch the whole
the thing together,
Yeah.
And I think you're right, because like the rest of Star Wars I don't think does that as much.
Like I'm just trying to think of an analog of in any other movie that is the droid factory, because that sequence isn't even really fun to sit through. It totally feels just like an exercise in CGI. As
an adult, it's not fun. I do remember like loving this entire movie when I saw it when it came out when I was like 12 or something.
Yeah.
And that was one of those sequences where I was like, oh man, I wish there was a ride of this. I wish there was like a cool roller coaster ride of this part. And so I think there are it's to that end, Clone Wars might be one of the most, not Clone Wars, Attack of the Clones. I do that all the time. I call it A Phantom Menace and Clone Wars, the movie. This might be the most kids movie, like this and Return of the Jedi in a way, or like feel very kids movie to me, because it's like, it's obvious that there's a lot of these sequences are designed to be like the kids are gonna like this. And I think the
that's
closest
what's also
thing.
so funny about, like, maybe this to a lesser extent than Phantom Menace, but all the prequels, like, there's certainly things that it's like, okay, well, that's only for kids. Like, even the romance in this, like, the idea of, like, it just sort of being explained to you as opposed to, like, you actually realizing how, like, charming and sexy and how much chemistry these people have, which of course is they don't. Like, like a romance in a kid's movie, you could just have it be told to you. That's like any Disney princess thing. But then there's things like the banking clan and all the politicking that happens in the prequels. That is just
And
who's
then
the audience?
And then there's like the scary stuff, and like especially in episode 3, it gets like really dark. But even in this movie, there's like some scary kind of things, and like I made a joke about Zam Wessel, their like little changeling face, like really creeping me out, like when I was younger. So yeah, no, this movie is like the perfect mishmash of, it's for kids, but also we're trying to tell a bigger story, but also it's a swing and a miss, but also there's like really cool stuff involved. And
they tried to go for like Gone with the Wind level romance, but a like the Maltese Falcon level film noir mystery.
Yes.
Like he really tried to do a handful of gigantic swings and missed.
You know what's interesting is like, and I don't think we talked about this before, maybe, but like, so initial Star Wars trilogy is, right, we talked about how it's like a kit of parts. It is sci-fi, old sci-fi, Buck Rogers, westerns, and samurai movies, right?
Sure.
And that was a big part of its
like
success.
Dune and like high fantasy.
Yes. And that was a big part of its success, in that it was like able to sort of marry those elements well, you know? And I would argue that the sequel trilogy, for better or for worse, mirrors that tone. Like, is sort of, it's not doing sci-fi meets western meets samurai. It's doing original trilogy.
Yeah, right. Its inspiration was Star Wars.
Yes, but original trilogy feels like original trilogy, right? So you can see the influences and elements in the sequel trilogy.
Yeah.
I think that some of the downfall of the prequels is that it's George Lucas going away from, I'm doing western sci-fi,
like I'm doing
fantasy,
things I love.
Yes, and going away from that and going into, I'm going to make a prequel in the world I've already created.
Yeah.
But getting away from those elements of like, oh, well, it's a western, it's a samurai. There's like, getting away from those elements leaves you with the mishmash that we have.
Right.
And it makes me wonder, like, was he thinking, like with episode 2, like specifically, yes, I want to do film noir, I want to do romance,
maybe,
because it's like he didn't do that in the original trilogy. And so I'm wondering, were there, like, is that part of the problem with the prequels, is that he was once again trying to do a mash up some different like inspirations, and then ended up being
mired in the plot.
Yes, the plot and the sort of the poor dialogue and everything.
That's a really interesting point, because all the prequels as like one whole, they do kind of read like the creator was absent. Like, it was just sort of like he was just like, well, yeah, I mean, we have all these history books. I'll like photocopy out the pages that make the most sense to share. Like it felt like he was just sort of tied so much to the mythology that he had to present that to us instead of, the hero's journey story. That's what, like Phantom Menace is so messy, you don't even know who the protagonist is.
Yeah.
And in this, you sure do, but it's, well, I would argue it might even be Obi-Wan in this.
No, it is. I think it absolutely is Obi-Wan in this, because you spend a lot of time with Anakin and Padme, but he's not doing protagonist stuff.
Right.
You
That's
know what
the
I mean?
thing with the prequels, is events all happen to the characters, as opposed to the characters like making choices that result in plot taking place. And
you mentioned something in our commentary that I think would be a fun exercise that we should do someday, which will lead me into kind of my next idea here, is that like a fun exercise would be, quote unquote, rewriting the prequels, because everyone loves to be like, oh, this is how you can make the prequels good. But something you mentioned was like only using, or maybe we both were mentioning it, only using the plot elements and dialogue that we have in the movie, but like moving it, editing it in a way to make it feel, I don't know, just like more compelling.
Yeah.
And because I think there's a way you can do that with just the entire prequel trilogy in general, and which leads me to the next thing, because prequels don't feel like original trilogy, right? It feels like different. I mean, you can tell it's the same guy making it, but it feels like a
flashy
different
video game.
Yeah, and I think I don't know if he could have done a sci-fi, fantasy, western, samurai movie with the story of the prequels, because the story of the prequels is a classic Greek tragedy.
Right.
It's fatal flaw.
Grace. Yeah.
It's Oedipus, because there's no way that this person was fated to become the terrible thing they became.
But like Oedipus or Macbeth, they have like a prophecy set before them, which is another thing that if I were to rewrite the prequels, given only the elements they present, I would really lean more into what is this prophecy. Because boy, oh boy, is it fun in a play like that, like an old classic play, to know what's going to happen, but then see the person deliberately try to avoid making that happen. And in so doing, they like shoot themselves in the foot.
Yes.
Like, essentially, it's That's So Raven.
It's That's So Raven. Every episode, holy cow, That's So Raven is inspired by Shakespeare, is Oedipus. Every episode is Oedipus going, I hope I don't marry my mom and have sex with her. Yeah. And then he's like, dang it.
Yeah, I did.
I did it anyway.
Shoot,
shit.
I was even trying not to.
I was trying not to, but it's like the
book,
fashion show.
This might be actually a better thing to discuss on next week's episode, but there's a book that my freshman year of college, it's like a short book, and it's a bunch of short stories, and each one is maybe 3 or 4 pages long. They're not very long, but there's probably 20 or 30 of them. And it's called Einstein's Dreams, and the premise is it's like different universes where time moves differently, and it sort of just describes what a day or two in the life of this place or time where time moves differently. And then this was for architecture that we had to read it, because our first like big assignment was create like a bridge essentially from our world to this other world where time moves so differently. So it was all just conceptual thinking and sort of unlearning, trying to get everybody from all these different backgrounds their first semester of school to kind of be on the same page from a conceptual standpoint, And the one that I picked, I just I think about it all the time. I love this idea. It's a reality where at random times, you can never predict it. You will get a glimpse of your own future. You don't know how far into the future, and you don't know, it is certain.
Yeah.
And basically the idea is no matter what you do to either hope that happens or keep it from happening, it will happen. And so the little bridge thing that I made was this thing where there were these hills all around you, and then the path kind of woven in out of the hills. And when you're on the path, sometimes the path is above a hill, so you can look down and see another part of the path, but you don't know where it came out of which hill, basically. But it is all only one path,
Right.
And I think there would have been a lot more fun to do the Greek tragedy thing, I guess is where my roundabout way of saying, if the visions that Anakin had of again, they sort of tease us with some of those. If there were more concrete reasons or events that he made a choice to do something to keep something bad from happening, and it directly resulted in that bad thing happening.
Yes, exactly.
The Tusken Raiders
Luke in
took
Empire
Shmi
Strikes Back.
Skywalker a couple weeks ago. That is happening to him.
Yes.
He's just getting there in the nick of time.
Right. It's I had this bad vision about my mom. I'm going to go to Tatooine to save her.
Yeah.
New uncle or whatever comes. Shmi has to stay on the farm because for whatever reason, the rest of the family goes and meets Anakin, and then while they're gone, Shmi is kidnapped.
Right.
It's
had
oh wait,
he
this
not
was your
gone
fault.
and they were his receiving party, she wouldn't have been left alone or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah, it's stuff like that, because the tragedy of these prequels is watching the inexorable fall into becoming Darth Vader, right? And
it's almost more like watching Requiem for a Dream, something like that, where the people in that movie also make choices, but they succumb to addiction, and addiction is is it may have been like a small bit of agency and choice related to that like fall early on, but like, you know, something like heroin, you don't have much of a choice.
No, at a certain
dig
point
yourself out of it.
Yes, I haven't seen Requiem for a Dream, but I know what you're saying, because at a certain point with like addiction and especially with the harder stuff, it's like, no, you can't just stop.
Right.
Like if you're going to, there has to be like very specific things you have to do.
And like Revenge of the Sith specifically is sort of like that. Like Anakin is already in. He can't just like not become Darth Vader.
And I think like if we ever want to do this rewriting exercise, I think it's like we take because I think if you take all the elements from all three movies, and then squish them into, I don't know, maybe 2 movies, you could create this cool fall from grace because the fighting his future. And I talked about this a little bit, like there in the commentary, but like the way, because I was like, oh, you could read Hayden Christensen's performance as someone who is very powerful and who has been told his entire life that he's going to be a bad guy. You could read his performance as trying to keep a very tight lid on everything.
Yeah, that's right.
So
we talked a lot about the actual acting as being like, wait, was this maybe a great choice?
Yes, it's like, was this a great choice? Was this a choice at all? Or is it just something that you can definitely read into? But like, either way, it's a fun way to watch the movie with that in mind. But like, yeah, you could, this would, so all that to say, if Lucas had, I don't know, maybe a little more foresight or other people helping him, like he had in the original trilogy, to say, well, let's pull from your influences again, right? Like, what do you like about, we did Western, Buck Rogers, fantasy, samurai for the original trilogy. What do you like about all those things that we haven't discovered? Because like the tragic, like lonely, like the Ronin hero of a samurai is like a pretty compelling thing. And like there's a lot of like about honor in samurai stuff and falling from grace in samurai stuff. Say even in Westerns, there's the same thing of like the lone gunfighter rolls in and has to atone for his past, right? Or like comes in as trying to be good, and then someone else comes in and is like, oh no, you're a bad guy. I know you're a bad guy. He's like, no, I'm not that way. And like there's all sorts of stuff he could have done even within that stuff, or could have taken entirely new influences. All that to say, I feel like he was trying to do that in this movie the most blatantly with like the detective noir stuff, the romance stuff, whereas like in Phantom Menace, I have no idea. Like if you were to be like, oh, what are the genres that he's trying to evoke here, I'd be like, I don't know.
Yeah, like just
Star
Return
Wars,
of the Jedi, I guess?
Yeah, is it just Star Wars?
Yeah.
And similarly with like Revenge of the Sith, it's like, I don't know, it's just Star Wars again. Like, I don't know what
that's the thing. Like, so much of like the time in these movies is given to the, not only like the answering questions we weren't asking, but like, because that's something like showing the robot replacing the window or whatever. Like, that's just like truly an unnecessary detail, but it's cute. But he's answering questions that not only were we not asking, but like we deliberately were not asking. You know what I mean? It's not like we neglected to ask. It's that we didn't want to know. We didn't need to know that the Geonosians were the engineers behind the Death Star, and that's why, like there's so much of the like, and I think we at the time maybe thought we wanted that type of information of just like, show us how this came to be. But like anybody who's, say read The Killing Joke realizes that it's a bit more compelling just knowing that there's a fucking crazy guy who dresses up like a clown than it is to like know the story. I know that book is like revered, but I think it's just sort of like meh. But
even for The Killing Joke, like to that extent, like as using that as a example, there is still like the ending of that, and even the sort of reveal of the Joker's past in general is met with a sense of uncertainty, right? Because you're like, he's an unreliable narrator.
Like, or maybe that's not how it happened.
Yeah, and the very ending, especially of that, is very much up in the air, where you're like, what did happen at the end of the... And there isn't that sense of... And that's why we have so much fun with the original trilogy, right? Is because all these things are presented as a, oh, isn't this cool? Without an explanation of the background, right?
Yeah.
And it's a hard line to walk, because sometimes it is interesting to get a character or a location's origin story, because I'm not going to say there aren't any good origin stories or that there aren't any good prequels, because sometimes it is fun to learn about oh, what happened when this person was young, or like how did they get their start?
Right.
But then a lot more often, I would say, it is less interesting to learn about how they got to the interesting place they're already in.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's because it's like the improv thing where it's like it's an interesting day in your improv scene, right? Like it's an interesting moment for that character.
Right.
Like you are
the
something
day
is
that
happening.
something happens.
Yes, the day that something happens. And so it's more interesting to learn about the day that something happens than it is to go and learn about how the character got to the day that something happened.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunately just kind of like the prequels in general, which isn't to say that you can't tell a good story in that way, because I think you can.
Right. I mean, look at the Clone Wars TV series. Obviously, they had more like screen time to make it happen, but like there's amazing stories in that.
Absolutely.
And you know the end.
Which is a great example. Which is a great example of how you can tell compelling stories within a story, even if you know how it's going to end. But
yeah, I think
I don't know,
this movie, like more than anything, it is a real tell and not a show. Like I think, I know I've already said it, like making choices, but I think, like when they go to Naboo, for example, like anything with Padme and Anakin, the dialogue is kind of bad, and the scenes are kind of hokey and schmaltzy. But like if it were just like, and I realize it's like probably a PG rated movie or maybe PG-13, but like if there's a time for Star Wars to have some sex in it, and by that I just mean like chemistry.
Yes.
Like this is the movie to do it in. Like they tell us like, no, we mustn't, but like we're like, yeah, okay, then don't. Like, please don't.
We're like, you mustn't what?
Yeah.
You guys like Anakin like touches her hand one time, and it's like, and then they eventually kiss. But like even
and
before
he's like,
that kiss,
I've thought of you every day for 10 years. It's like, oh, this is not cute.
No, that was a creepy thing. Is like I vacillated back and forth wildly in this movie of trying to decide if I liked Anakin or not, and because he's so creepy, he's like incel creepy in the way that he's like, you're the perfect woman, I've been dreaming about you. But then there's times when he's kind of cute where you're like, oh, he's trying to flirt, and it's just like, even that is just like, it's so inconsistent. Where it's like, if they could have just gone in a direction of Anakin's sexy, Padme is sexy, these are two attractive young people who like really, and honestly, like a big problem is that because it goes back to Phantom Menace, because they made him too young in the first one.
Phantom Menace was just such a like tough thing to kind of recover from. I think it would have been interesting though, even again, like given the fact
it's
that
rated PG,
the fact that he's 9 in that movie, okay, and the fact that it's PG, say that, like Obi-Wan, when they first arrive and they're like, hi Padme, good to see you again, or whatever. What if Anakin also had kind of grown and like not necessarily forgotten about Padme, but like spent 10 years of his life doing Jedi shit, and then maybe when they saw each other, they both were kind of like, oh,
you?
Yeah,
yes,
like when you go to like a high school reunion or something, and you see someone who you had a crush on then, and you've since become, an adult with a job, and then you go back and you're like, oh gosh, I'm having all sorts of feelings from when I was like a kid.
10. Yes, no, there is, yes, I agree. There is like ways that it could, which once again, like it's like the story isn't bad.
Right.
It's just the way that we get there is like clunky.
The story is, despite being told not to, Anakin falls in love with Padme. Like that is the whole story.
Yes.
And then like the details are just bad.
Yeah, and like forbidden love is incredibly compelling. Here's the thing is like the prequels should have been Greek tragedy, Shakespearean romance tragedy, and then like some other
big theme from this movie, the big musical theme is called Across the Stars.
Yes, it's like literally star-crossed lovers, right?
Yes.
And then like some third thing to tie that together and make it like, obviously it's science fiction, but like some other third thing, maybe keeping with the fantasy stuff to like bring it in to make it feel, oh, this is its own, it's still Star Wars, but it has its own influences that are making it feel like its own thing,
Yeah.
Man, we're so smart, Mike.
We really are. Should we maybe do like a Patreon episode where we rewrite
brainstorm?
the arc of the prequels?
I think that's a really fun idea. I think we should.
Patrick
I think we should
Willems
also
on YouTube did that with the Matrix sequels, and again, it's like It's plot beats, world building, dialogue, and characters were all kept the same, but he like reconfigured the movie so that they made more sense. And it was doing things also like, okay, hey, this character isn't really consequential to the plot. And in the first movie, we established there's 3 main characters. And in the sequels, Morpheus has nothing to do. So instead of giving that line of dialogue and that story element to this guy, why don't we give that to Morpheus? You know, like doing things like that, I think would be a really fun thing to try to do.
I think that'd be fun. I think we should do that. We actually ended up having an interesting conversation about this movie, but I think we should go to the pit real quick and come back and play a game.
Yeah.
I truly, from everything we talked about, have no more idea of what I'm going to rate it.
I'm not getting any closer to figuring out if this is more or less Star Wars than Last Jedi.
Oh, goodness.
Especially since they're both kind of like controversial movies. Like,
yes, absolutely.
In different ways.
They're like controversial. Yes, they're like reverse controversial. You know, it's like the exact opposite reasons.
Right.
But yeah, let's go to the pit.
Okay,
Woo!
And we're attack!
Of the clones!
Yeah, I just took a little break to get some water, and the entire time I was just thinking, like, yeah, what other ways could we have made that movie better?
Yeah, Mike said, like, what is more compelling than Forbidden Love? And it's like, nothing.
Yeah.
It's like one of the most classic storylines that is repeated in everything all the time, always.
Right.
Yeah, it's just a shame.
So, I have the game this week.
Woo!
It's another edition of the Star Wars Minute game.
I'm ready to absolutely destroy or get it incredibly wrong.
Yeah.
With no in between.
So last time we played this, it was the like, okay, you're higher, okay, you're lower version. And it was basically just 12 minutes of me going higher, higher, lower, lower. So I rewrote the rules for solo play, which is, you know, you alone as opposed to you versus Pete or someone else.
Yeah.
And they are this. I'll give you one guess as to what minute that particular event is. And if you get it right on the nose, you get 5 points. If you're within 5 minutes in either direction, you get 4 points.
Okay.
And then if you're within 10 minutes in either direction, it's 3. And then like 15 to 21. And if you're not within 20 minutes on either end, which means like somewhere in a 40-minute window, you get 0.
Great. Also, for the listener, Mike's beautiful lens flare has returned whenever we record. Apparently, when we record in this area in the summertime, there's just a beautiful lens flare that comes through Mike's window at around 7 o'clock.
I'm going to capture it this time. We haven't taken a screenshot before. Let me get it really
it's beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous. Well, I'm excited to once again absolutely dominate this game.
Okay, and for this game, you also have a choice. I've got some themes. Would you like the dismemberment game?
The
first appearance game?
Okay.
The C-3PO game? Let's see. The special edition or the music?
Okay, so I feel like Attack of the Clones, that I think I'm feeling C-3PO game.
And of course, it's one moment from all of the 9 movies.
Right.
But yes, okay, cool.
But that's just sort of my inspiration here.
Yeah, got it. Because he's that cool, like, pewter, grayish metal in this movie.
He looks great.
Okay, so this is a C-3PO Star Wars Minute game. Here we go. We are going to start off. We're doing release order yet again. We always will when I'm doing the game because that's how I organize the spreadsheet. They are the Disney Plus ones. You know, minute 1 of any Star Wars movie starts at 000 and goes to 59 seconds. You know, that's the first minute. I will say the movie, I will say the moment, and I will say how many minutes are in the movie. And then you have to guess the minute. Okay. This is A New Hope, which is a 124-minute long movie on Disney Plus. 124. And this is the first ever appearance of C-3PO.
That's going to be pretty early. I'm going to say minute 1 is probably mostly crawl. I'm going to say minute 3.
Minute 3 is correct!
Yes! I mean, I pretty much had a 1 in 5 chance of getting it because I was like, that's the first 5 minutes.
Yeah,
for
right.
Sure.
Okay, so
I
you
get
have 5 points right off the bat. Okay, the next movie, of course, is Empire Strikes Back at 127 minutes long. And this moment of C-3PO is the first appearance of C-3PO in Empire Strikes Back.
Okay, let's see. Let's remember. We're out. We're in the cold. We're doing stuff. He's back at the base. I'm going to say like minute 11.
Okay, so for that, you do get 4 points because it is minute number 7.
Oh, okay.
Very
a little sooner
close.
than I thought. Dang it. 5 minutes away. Not bad.
Okay, the next movie is Return of the Jedi, coming in at 134 minutes. And this moment of the movie is the first appearance of C-3PO in Return of the Jedi.
Okay, let's see. How's that one start? He's also at the very beginning because he's delivering the message. I'm gonna say minute 3 again.
It is minute 5.
Ah!
So again, you get 4 points.
Not bad.
Yeah, now though I'm trying to remember, like, how is that not the first thing that happens? But it's,
Well, I think it's what is the exact first thing? There's the crawl, and then because in my memory, the first thing is them like walking. Is him and C-3PO on Tatooine.
That is my first memory too. But
That's
I
my
did,
first
like,
memory in general.
I did scrub through all of these movies and find the exact moment though. So I don't know why that's not coming to mind of like what like one thing happened before we saw C-3PO.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving now on into the prequel world, we are at Phantom Menace. The Phantom Menace is a 136-minute long movie, and you need to tell me the minute in which we first see C-3PO.
All right, I feel like I know what's going on. Now, this is going to be later, because this is not until, like, the middle when they find Anakin. He's built the boy. So, I'm going to say, like, minute 45. No. Minute 55.
You were closer with 45. It's minute 39.
Dang, I was so close!
So let's see. 55 is more than 10 minutes away. So you are in the 15 range, which gets you 2 points.
Nah, man. Ah, shit.
Wait, no, that's not true. Because 55 would be 15 away from 40, and it's 39. So it's actually, you only get 1 point for that.
Ah, shit.
Okay. The next one is Attack of the Clones, the movie we're talking about this week, where he looks the best he ever looks in the entire saga. And you can fight me on that. This moment you're trying to determine here is the first appearance of C-3PO.
Okay, in this one...
the Attack of the Clones is 142 minutes long.
Right.
Boy, is it.
This is whenever they go to Tatooine to save Shmi. Which is also, I feel like, middle-ish. How long's the movie again? 154?
It is 142 minutes.
142. I'm going to give it a 50. Minute 50.
It's funny that you say 50 because you earlier said middle-ish, and it is at minute 72, which is almost the dead middle.
Exactly the middle.
So that was 22 minutes off, so you get no points.
They were like, you know how it's like in a good screenplay, it's like there should be something really great at like minute 60, like right at the halfway point. And this one, they were like, gotta meet C-3PO.
Yeah.
This is the most important thing that could happen.
I saw a thing recently that was like, I think I even shared it with you and Delaney on Twitter. The thing that was like, why didn't Owen remember C-3PO?
Yeah.
And it's like, he looks different than when he owned him. He only had him for a couple of years, and then like 25 years went by. And also, like, I don't know, if someone if someone gave me like the computer my family had when I was a kid, but they colored it a different color, would I be like, hey, that's a computer I learned to play Age of Empires on?
This is my mom's laptop.
Yeah.
No, it's a good point.
Okay, Revenge of the Sith, 140 minutes long, and this is the minute where we first see C-3PO.
see, Revenge of the Sith. I think, gosh, I'm trying to remember. I haven't watched this one in a long time either, so I have no idea. I'm just gonna say like minute 15.
You're 10 off, so you get 3 points for that. It was minute 25. It's when
it take a while to get to him.
I haven't watched that in a while either. I feel like I've watched the first 2 prequels more than Revenge of the Sith, but it's
well, it's like they're more fun to watch.
They are more fun for sure. It's when they like land at Coruscant again. Those movies, maybe Padme is the protagonist of those movies.
She might be.
Shit always starts happening when she shows up.
Yeah, absolutely.
She comes to Coruscant for some like vote, and then like all hell breaks loose.
She is. She's the middle of those movies.
Now we jump into the modern era, into The Force Awakens. Now, if you remember, in this movie, C-3PO has a red arm.
It's very cool.
This is a 138-minute long movie, and it is the first appearance of C-3PO.
Now I'm trying to remember this one too, because I'm like, what happens at the very beginning of that movie? Because I haven't seen that one in a hot second as well.
There's a lot of Rey stuff, a lot of Finn and Poe stuff.
I feel like it's not till we get to the Resistance that we see 3PO, which is a little later. I'm gonna say like what, minute 45?
No.
Very wrong.
It is minute 80.
Jeez. No points.
No points on that one. Yeah, minute 80. You're right. It is when they get to the Resistance, but there are like a dozen scenes that happen. There's the intro scene where we see Kylo Ren and Poe.
Yeah,
there's all the Rey business where Finn and Rey get together.
Yeah.
There's like Han. There's a whole bunch of shit with Han before they go to the Resistance. Like
there's the Kanji clan.
Right. Okay, the next movie is The Last Jedi, the longest, 152 minutes. And in that movie, we first see C-3PO at what minute?
Last Jedi. Well, we just watched this, so I should remember. And I don't. I'm going to say minute...
Actually, hang on. Before you say anything, it happens to be the same number as one you've already said. Or no, sorry. Not one that you've already said, but one that was already a correct answer.
Okay. Nakash. 72.
You were almost there. It was 7.
Yeah, I know that wasn't right, but it was the only number I could remember, and I don't even know if that was a specific one.
Yeah, it shares a first appearance.
Oh, right, because
with Empire.
Leia is like, get that nervous expression off your face.
Yep, exactly. That's exactly the moment.
Folks, I just said 72 because I was remember. I didn't think that was actually what it was.
No,
okay?
Sure. That was just fun and funny.
That was just for fun.
Yeah. And then the last movie is Rise of Skywalker, 142 minutes. And this is the first... What if I changed the thing and it was like, this is when we first meet D.O.
Yeah.
No, it's the first appearance of C-3PO.
Oh, man. And this is not the movie I've seen one time.
Right. The movie that really, truly feels like a person telling you a bunch of Star Wars things.
I'm going to just, like, once again, I have to go off of nothing and say, like, I don't know, minute 20.
Wow, you were as close as you have been, like, on any guess, basically. It was minute 16.
Not bad. Yeah. So
and
I got, what, 4
also
points?
could not tell you what happens then. I wrote down all these numbers quite a while ago.
All right. So my final score is 9, 13, 14, 17, 21.
Great.
Out of a possible 45?
Yeah.
So a solid failing grade.
Yep.
Love it.
And that is how we play the Star Wars Minute Game.
And that is how we play.
That's how we play it this time.
This time. We'll see if it stays the same.
Yeah.
It changes. Well, let's figure out what we're going to rate this dang thing, because we talked about a lot of interesting stuff, but I feel like but like we said, no closer to figuring out where it lands. Here's the biggest question we have to figure out. Is it more or less Star Wars than The Last Jedi?
Right. I think that's maybe the place to start here.
Because we can also move things around again. We have created that precedent where if we want to move Last Jedi down a little bit to slot in Attack of the Clones, we can. I don't think it's more Star Wars than Empire.
I agree. It's too clunky and messy.
My gut is saying it's more Star Wars than Last Jedi.
I was kind of heading that way too.
And I don't necessarily have a good reason. It's
really
just what
either.
my gut is saying.
The thing with this is it's funny that the ones that we're sort of comparing it to are the other middle movies.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
both of those middle movies really did something.
Yeah.
And I couldn't tell you what this movie really did.
No, that's true. Can you know what I'm
That doesn't
realizing?
make those other ones more Star Wars necessarily.
No. What I'm realizing right now is it's like the opposite of recency bias, where because obviously these older movies all fall pretty high, which is like because they're the thing that we all go off of. They have the biggest. They're weighted the biggest. The prequels, in general, feel more Star Wars to me than the original trilogy in certain way, or than the sequel trilogy in certain ways. And I think it might just be because they've been around for 20 years.
That could be it. It could also be the sort of George Lucas stank that has like
yes,
stayed
that was the
with
next
them.
thing I was going to say. Is that they have his undeniable hands on them.
Yep.
To where, and because they inspired most of the animation
Yeah.
that we have, that is also a big part of Star Wars.
Yeah.
So like maybe it's just that the sequel trilogy hasn't had enough time to like gel into like what feels like some real canon that like everything else can jump off of yet. Whereas like the prequels does feel like that because a lot of stuff has done that.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely on the same page. This has like it has all the chili ingredients in full force. Like
Absolutely.
It's got monsters, it's got goofy CG blobby characters, it's got like bad plot.
Yes. Well, and like even the good movies in Star Wars still have like questionable plot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where it's like, wait, why are we here? What's the plan? That's a stupid plan. But we have like fun actors to sort of make us not worry about it. You know?
Whereas Last Jedi really tried some kind of new things.
Yeah.
Which it's funny that it is so high on our thing because it really does do a lot of things that other Star Wars movies don't do. Like, I do somewhat get the Star Wars fanboy loudness on the internet about, like, this isn't like other Star Wars movies, because it is not.
No, absolutely. It is. And I think maybe that's what the reason why we give it higher is because it feels like because the thing like we've said before is like, it feels like the good parts of Star Wars, whereas the prequels feel like the bad parts. But all that to say, like, Attack of the Clones also does have some of the good parts of Star Wars in, like, the cool character designs and the cool characters in general and the world building and the planets, So, I mean,
it has like it has like a great deal of amazing Battlefront 2 maps.
Yes,
it has Coruscant, it has Camino, it has Geonosis.
I have like walked myself into thinking that we should bump Last Jedi down a little bit.
Yeah, I think so too.
And put Attack of the
otherwise
Clones.
we'd have to do like even further fractions than quarters of a point.
Yeah, I think we give Attack of the Clones an 8.5 and then bump Last Jedi down to 8 and a 8.25.
Yeah, I like that.
I think that feels good to me.
I like that a lot. What unit of measure do we want to slap on this bad boy?
Oh, that's a good question. What did we do last time?
Oh gosh, I don't know.
Who knows? It's been way too long. I feel like I'm going to give it... What did I enjoy watching this time around? I liked those little weird mosquito tick creatures. The tick cows. No. The tick cows on Naboo that look like...
the ticks, yeah.
They look like big cows that are ticks.
Yeah. And I'm going to do different type of cutting arm or implement along a factory assembly line.
Absolutely. So new list just dropped. Last Jedi is 8.25. Attack of the Clones is 8.5. So I feel good about that.
This is our second of like 6 of these episodes where we retconned our own shit from a previous one.
from like a month prior.
Yeah, right.
Hey, it's our show. We can do whatever we want.
It sure is.
Well, and on that note, it is our show, and it is time to wrap up. So, what did we say? Do you want us on the internet? Right. I'm like so out of it. I have no idea what's happening. Find us at How Star Wars Is It on Twitter and Instagram, and look at the show notes for the rest of our info.
Right. And go to patreon.com/How Star Wars Is It.
Yes.
That's where you can get additional bonus episodes. We do about a half-hour-long bonus episode every week. We also are doing commentaries for the Star Wars films, and as of this recording, you'll get to hear our commentary on Attack of the Clones in the next week or two.
Yes, when this goes up, it'll be the 26th, and then the first week of August, the 4th, will be when you can hear the commentary for Attack of the Clones. So
yep,
go listen to that. It's fun. Also, I just want to plug, like, this might seem silly, but we had some cool guests on recently. This month we had some fun guests. So if you haven't listened to those episodes, go back and check them out.
Yeah, that's right.
We had some good guests this month.
And
okay.
just for fun, because I haven't in a while, because it's just kept getting away from me, but by now maybe I'm closer to finally finishing some toys.
This is my favorite, like, vague plug that Mike does.
Yeah.
It's like, could be.
And either way, whether I'm finished or not, my Instagram will always be there, which is Rule Follower Toys.
Yes, and that Instagram rocks. Yeah, I think that's it. It's about time for tell you bye-bye.
Yeah.
A tight episode this week.
A tight one.
Like we always say, we love you. And may the 4th
be with you.
Bye-bye. Did you see that the Teletubbies got vaccinated?
Yeah! Yeah, I did see
and that they're all 18 or something?
Yeah,
like they
what?
are confirmed to be over the... That's weird. Anyway, good to know they're not like anti-vaxxers.
Sure.